Brooklyn. Dead right, if the head right, Biggie there, every night. Papa been smooth since days of under rules. Never lose, never choose to. Bruce Cruz, who do something.
Welcome back to a Football Friday here on 106.7 The Fan. It just got a lot more powerful here in the studio here in Lanham as we're joined by DeMaurice Smith, Executive Director of the NFLPA, and his right-hand man, George Atala, who has the longest title ever, Assistant Executive Director of External Affairs at the NFLPA.
It's a lot of airtime.
It is.
Just wasted.
It is.
How do you get that on your card?
It's a wraparound.
Small font.
Small font.
Yeah.
It works. Thank you,
You guys have never been in the studio. This is new
no,
for
I
you.
think they've been here. They've been
You
here.
were here last year? Steve?
I don't know. I don't. This looks way too highbrow for you.
No, I
guys.
think they've been
I'm a
here.
little,
Jason, I think they
I'm a
have
little
been
surprised.
I don't remember that.
But we're moving out
I don't
in a
think
few
so.
Maybe
months.
George has. I think George has.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
Probably.
Maybe it was George.
Well, that sign in the corner is new, so you know.
Is it?
Nice, yeah, it's a nice little window
Well, all
dressing.
this is going, thrown in the trash. We're moving to D.C. in a few months. So,
Yeah, we're gonna be
so you guys will
closer
be
to
in
you.
more often then.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do
when,
that.
when is your first show there?
Probably not till-
knows?
well,
That's a
That-
million
that's-
dollar
I don't know if
question.
we should say anything.
TBD.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be
You know
in
how that
early
works.
January.
Well, look,
but who
I
knows?
would, I know I would love to be the inaugural guest, only because I'm a
Oh,
complete
here we
fan.
go.
Oh, I like that.
Well, you can do
We'll
that.
bring somebody special.
Well, let me ask you this.
It's right around. It's right across the street from Nats Park.
Deal.
Can I just
Deal.
officially ask you to be on our next season of Table Manners?
Done.
I don't know why we haven't done that yet.
Man,
it's
I
just
would love to.
crazy.
I would love
It's
to.
crazy that we haven't done
Love
that.
to.
Yeah. All right, so D's in here, and you're kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you're kind of on a PR tour these last few days, or no? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, anything that's just pure PR for me. That's the one thing that George just does. Not just another day doing media. Well, look, it's the beginning of the season for us. I'm on the road literally from September 8th until the middle of March.
Wow.
So this is just really the first and last time that we can kind of do large frame media without just being on a day by day by day grind. And so it's important to get out there.
I can't imagine.
Give the public compliment that you gave us before you joined us. It
Oh,
was
he
very
did?
nice. He-
Oh, yeah.
'cause
I
we
have
wouldn't
to
hear
tell
this.
you.
We have
You
low
usually love
self-esteem.
those.
Of any show that I do, radio, TV, whatever, I get more tweets about this show than anything else I do.
Thank you.
Look at that.
What, just from random people or
Like
people you
that.
know?
Keep it coming.
People I know, but just random people. People on the street who just come up to me and go, "Who are you?"
You know why? Because we tackle tough issues. Let's get your take on
Got
this.
it.
Something we debated earlier this week. If you're on a plane, do you lean your seat back? It's become a big issue. They've diverted planes.
Dead
I
on.
personally believe they allow it, so why not lean
Now,
back?
I'm gonna
I
add
will go
something
this way.
here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
guess he
Uh-oh.
flies
You're
first
gonna make it a
class.
double thing.
First
First
class
class.
most of the time, if not all the time.
No.
Okay.
All the time.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
First, on the first class thing, most of the places where I fly and the times that I'm flying don't have first class offered.
that
So I
hurts.
take a lot of regional jets, here.
Like puddle jumpers,
Newark.
like prop planes.
Yeah, I mean,
Ugh.
if you're taking that quick trip from Newark to up to Buffalo, that's a regional. If you're cutting across Middle America, Kansas City, Minnesota, those are regional jets. So those are and to answer the question, most of the time I do not lean back. I'm on planes so much that my back is killing me.
Good man.
So generally, I'm sticking my little. Now I do have a bad whatever group of earphones, so I put that little earphone case in my back and.
Would you ever
That's it,
get
baby.
that big pillow that you see in the Sky Mall thing where you could just lay forward?
I got enough. I got enough
security.
I got
I
enough
don't
personal
know.
pride, baby. I can't do
he's
that.
he's too rich and powerful to be have
What
someone
about
take
the
a
neck
picture of him.
pillow? Would
If
you
I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the complete hood.
Yeah.
But I can't do that. I can't do the little pillow.
Gee, I can't imagine how much work and time goes into and paperwork goes into this HGH testing negotiation. I just can't imagine. First of all, when did it start? When do you think it'll be done?
Well, it's been for
Right.
years, right?
Well, it started the almost 2 weeks before we signed the deal. I mean, and think about the progression of this because it's important for our fans and it's important for our players. The progression of this was we were on the verge of signing the deal to get HGH done. And at really the 11th hour, when we asked the National Football League for all of the data behind HGH and how they come up with the testing standards, it was when the league couldn't produce that information that we started down this road. So when the league couldn't produce the information about how they set limits for athletes from WADA, that's why we didn't sign the deal to start HGH testing at the beginning. So over the last 3 years, we have gone from the league not being able to produce the data, we actually went to WADA and asked them for the data. They couldn't produce the data. Then we came up with our own plan that, okay, we're going to produce our own population study so we know what the data is, because the league didn't want us to challenge the science every time a player got suspended. And the league said, fine, we'll do the population study. Then the league came back and said, we don't want to do the population study. And then we said, okay, fine, if you don't want to do the population study, every player has to have a due process right to challenge the science. And that's where they are now. So we're on the verge of getting that part done, because the league has reversed itself and allowed players to now challenge the science if they get suspended based on HGH.
All right, you're the executive director of the NFLPA, and I get the NFLPA's position. You have to defend players and give them their due process. Let me give you the fans' perspective. When Wes Welker says, I don't know what a Molly is, and all these sort of things, and I'm sure that you have to side with them if they claim, that they were taking Adderall, whatever the heck they were doing. I just think of Ryan Braun. I think of Lance Armstrong.
When you're burned?
I just feel like people who are questioning tests, the tests are coming up positive, and most of these guys have lied.
Right.
And then they've been proven to be liars.
And that's the point. They've been proven. And in baseball, the two guys that you mentioned were proven to be liars, because baseball has a system where if you get popped, you go to neutral arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
It gets proved, and then in virtually every case, what happens after it gets proved?
They admit they were lying.
No. For our fans, they get suspended.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So to me, why should our players get less of a system than the same players in baseball?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's it. So look, you're talking to a guy who was a prosecutor in this town for 10 years. Like there's still a bit of a prosecutor in me. Our guys know that there's a bit of a prosecutor in me. Hey, look, if you've done something that's wrong, my job was to send you to the moon, and I sent you to the moon. I don't have a problem with
conviction
that.
rate, by the way. I'm going to guess 97%.
It was pretty
high.
high.
Yeah.
But
Do you know?
Yeah, I do know.
What was
It's probably triple digits.
I was one of those 4.85 students. Look, I was fairly aggressive as a prosecutor, and it was important for me to take those cases to the mat.
Well,
But the player, but also what pisses me off is the player will say, like Welker said, I would never knowingly take Molly or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, the regardless of what he says, we want a process where his due process rights are protected and they put on evidence, and if the evidence is convincing, then he gets suspended.
Here's what's interesting to me, though, is that the speculation that's being reported here in the last few days, as you guys are allegedly close to some sort of deal here, and I understand you guys don't speak in those terms, but the speculation is that you're going to have some sort of deal that potentially could let these guys back in. I've never heard of a deal like that where they've already the punishment's already been handed out, and now you're going to retroactively change it because of the new deal. That doesn't make sense to me. Is that possible? Can we dispute that? Can we dispel that right here?
No. Well, the one thing that could happen, and I think it should happen, is if we get a deal done that covers players in this league year.
Yeah.
I don't like a situation where we are punishing players based on a deal that was under the old league year. You see what I mean? So we're not sitting. I don't ever do deals where we sit back and go, hey, I'm going to cherry pick you, I'm going to cherry pick you, and I'm going to take care of you. We don't work that way.
Right.
We just don't.
Right.
We have a policy that we are negotiating that is going to be comprehensive and revolutionary.
But it would be retroactive? Potentially?
If the policy that we put out has the result of applying the standards today against players that were wrapped up at the end of the league year, I think that's worth considering. It doesn't mean that they get off. It means that we apply the standards. For example, if you have been caught smoking marijuana or taking a street drug, and it's I'm just being sarcastic, it's your 85th time.
Right.
Under the new policy, you're still going to be suspended. I mean, there's nothing we can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to make sure that anytime we are negotiating policies, as we did when we came out of the lockout, we came up with some new rules. We apply those rules to the players who get wrapped up during that league year. Why? Because I don't think it's fair that players who ordinarily would have been subject to the new policy have to suffer the penalty because the union and the league just couldn't get this done before the beginning of the season.
Gotcha.
That doesn't make any sense to me. We've tried to crush ourselves to get this done. We've waited for the league time and time again to try to get information back to us. I don't think that we should punish players because they can't get their act together.
All right, let me switch topics. The preseason. As a fan, it's almost unwatchable.
Well, by the end of it, for sure.
I think that there are some dilemmas for players, and the Redskins face this. They had somebody who was suspended for a preseason hit, which takes them away from the regular season, a game that doesn't matter. And I can't remember who said it. It might have been Ryan Clark who said it, that why are the players going to risk themselves and risk a game check based on preseason, which doesn't matter?
I think it's D'Angelo Hall.
What
What am I going to do here?
When he got suspended.
Yeah, look, here's the great thing about collective bargaining. If the league wants to make a change about reducing preseason games, the players would be open to reducing preseason games. Look, I buy the package. Right. I buy the game package. I know that nobody carves out my preseason ticket.
You don't get comped on that?
I don't have that job. And so to me, every fan who has to pay for preseason tickets, those are wrapped up in what? Your season ticket prices. But it's a fallacy to say that the only thing we can do is add games at the end of the season. If the league wants to change the preseason schedule, knock yourself out. Change the preseason schedule. Make a proposal. But look, I think that anytime that our players' health and safety is concerned, I think we take a look at it. We always have. But I think it's a false choice to be in a dilemma to say we either play 18 games or we can't touch the preseason.
No, to me, you could start like college football. There's no preseason. Boom, you just start it up.
Yep.
But if you added the two, let's just say you added 2 regular season games and you cut the 2 preseason games, so you have 18. You've expanded rosters. More guys are making money. Maybe the salary cap goes up. I mean, all that. There would be some benefits for the players. Wouldn't there? Maybe a bigger practice squad.
Well, unfortunately, all of those are assumptions. Let's go back to. Hate to go back to it because it was a tough time for us, but the lockout. Remember, the one of the main reasons the league went into the lockout was to force players to play 18 games. I mean, that was the reality. The offer that they put on the table for 18 games was to expand the roster size by a grand total of 1.
Okay, that's absurd.
Right.
Okay.
So all of these things come at a package. And when the league came to us with 18 games, it was also packaged with an 18% rollback on our salaries. It was packaged with losing our defined benefit plan. The roster change was a grand total of 1. There was no extra bye week. So in that context, who would do that?
Yeah. I agree with that.
That's what we call, that's stupid. So,
but then you negotiate it to a bigger number.
Well, yeah, but if you can, that was the final offer from the league. So to me, when we're talking about issues like preseason, if they want to change preseason, put a proposal on the table to change preseason, and we do whatever. If they want to put a proposal to change radically the way in which games are played, fine. But it has to be a comprehensive system that takes into consideration not only roster sizes, but bye weeks, what the salary changes are, what the exposure is, whether we change insurance for guaranteed contracts. All of those things are things that are important to the players.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that.
All right, joined in studio by the executive director of the NFLPA, DeMaurice Smith. Let's just call George Atala the spokesman.
Oh, that's fine. He loves that.
Very long title. He's a spokesman for the NFLPA.
The spokesman on his card.
No, you just diminished him. You can't do that.
Nah, it's okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You're like a Vanna White of the NFL players.
Look who I work with. See, there you go. I was just going to say.
When we come back, let's discuss what you do with guys who get arrested but aren't proven guilty and whether they get suspended. You got a new policy in place now in domestic violence and assault cases that Roger Goodell has in place. We'll talk about that next with D. Smith from the NFLPA.